Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. Now that my obligatory informative videos are done for the day, it's time to talk about current events in the online fitness community. And I'm going to cover a video, numerous people linked to me already, with Jesse over from Athlean-X, aka Athlean-X. And I'm going to be a lot nicer than most people are expecting me to be. I'm actually going to be a lot nicer. And ironically, even though I'm going to be really nice in this one and understanding this time, Athlean-X fangirls are all going to come in here and throw their little tampon hissy fits anyways, because I said anything but praise towards their shredded, curling, only biceps god. So let me put on my +5 hat of Speechcraft, lovingly called my +5 hat of autism by many of you. And, actually that came up on the Facebook the other day. Some people have said, Jason, why don't you ever wear your +5 boots of autism with your +5 hat of autism at the same time? Are you scared you'll reach levels of autism that might not even be possible? No, it's not that at all. Not that at all. It's that these are D&D universe stats, and those sort of stats, they don't stack with each other, so it would just be a waste of an item slot. So, over to the point though. Plus, I don't wear pants anyways when I do these videos. So, no, I'm not standing up. You guys aren't getting any G for P action. On to Jesse. Normally I would look at Jesse's gains and be like, why is this being thrown on Jeff's channel again as a highlight of a guy gaining muscle? He hasn't really gained that much muscle. He's lagging way behind. His strength is way lagging. But I would actually only be a dick about that if a person wasn't willing to address that fact. In other words, if a person comes up and there's some problems with their progress and you can see from a coaching perspective, yeah, this is not good progress, because it really isn't. Not that good. He's made progress. I'm going to give credit for the progress that's there. But when they can be honest with themselves about why that progress isn't there, that's fair. You can give them some tough love, but you don't need to bash somebody who actually does address why there's a problem there. And so instead of totally ripping on Jesse this time, I'm actually going to say, you know what? I'm going to give you props for admitting what the problem is. Now, I'm going to say the problem is multifold in nature. I'm going to address both his fear of the weight, which I'm going to blame largely on him training under Jeff, and I'm going to blame what he knows he admits to his appetite issues, because that's what a lot of it comes down to. And again, that comes to the fact of maybe we need to discuss maybe training under Jeff. I don't know, maybe that's not best for a person who might be leaning in the direction of an eating disorder, right? Maybe. We'll call it that. We'll discuss what hard gainers are in a minute, too. But let's talk a little bit about the weight on the bar, because he's like, well, I've made strength gains. He has made strength gains, and there's no doubt about that. He has gotten stronger than when he started. Objectively speaking, you cannot deny that. But what are we talking about? He's had a couple of years to gain strength, and I know a lot of people are going to say, well, he's had some injuries and other stuff and setbacks. That's true. Not fully healthy, and that can be taken into account. His strength levels are what I would expect from 6 months in the gym. And I don't mean, oh, you're pushing people too hard. I know. On a good strength program. I would expect, what he's squatting and deadlifting, I think that's doable in 6 months for someone who's completely out of shape and starting from scratch. And I'm not really trying to be a dick with that. That's just being honest. Let's be honest. That's realistic. He's a sub 300-pound squatter. On a good program, most reasonably healthy young men exceed a 300-pound squat, parallel squat. They exceed 300 pounds within a year. If you guys get to the 1 year mark and you're not able to hit like a 315 squat to depth with good form, that's time to reassess. That's time to step back and say, okay, well, what am I doing wrong here? Right, because that is a moment of reassessment, because that's pretty normal. Now, it could be your assessment could be, maybe I just have terrible genetics. That could be a part of it. That could be a factor. But that shouldn't be our go-to excuse for everything, right? That shouldn't be our go-to for everything. Well, I just don't have the genetics to get average results. Well, I don't know, man. I don't know if that's... We can't always use that cop-out, right? We can't always use that cop-out for everything, because that is what it is. It is some truth to it at times. Can you get phenomenal results with average or below average? Probably not. You should be able to get average results. That's below average results. So a lot of it is that fear of weight. It's what he thinks is how perfectly he should control the weight versus actually what's good enough. What's good enough to not get hurt and keep getting stronger. There's a fine line between those two. I mean, sometimes that difference is 50 pounds difference on the bar. But that is the thing. It seems like there is that fear. And say, well, I'm going at my own pace. That can also be a fear of heavy weight. You don't need to be afraid of heavy weight. If you're in control of the weight and you have pretty good form, watch your form, watch for form degradation. You don't need to be afraid of adding weight regularly. And weak points aren't addressed by, no, I'm just not going to add weight to the bar. I'm just going to lift the same weight for 3 months straight when you're still weak. That's not how you address that. You address that by figuring out what our weaknesses are and working on those weaknesses, right? We work on our weaknesses. We don't say, nope, I'm just going to let my form clear. No, you identify your weak links. You figure out why there's some form degradation. You figure out what's causing you to not be able to lift more weight more quickly, and you need to resolve that. That's a coaching issue. It's a coaching issue. What muscles specifically are the problem? Why can't you increase the weight faster? If it's just because I want to maintain great form, well, that's not an excuse. You can keep lifting heavier with great form. There's no reason to be going that slowly, unless there's a muscle gain and a weight gain issue too. Now, part of the reason that you might not be lifting more weight is what? You're not gaining muscle fast enough, because size equals strength. You can't separate size and strength completely. There's an enormous degree of overlap. There's like a 90% degree of overlap there. A little bit of wiggle room on both sides. Mostly overlap. Size is mostly strength, more or less. Large amount of correlation there. Maybe not gaining muscle fast enough. And there we come to the point. He said he knows his appetite's an issue. And that's one reason I'm not going to just bust his balls here. It's one reason even so the fangirls of Athlean-X can step back and say, okay, now you're being fair. He knows it's his appetite. I know it's his appetite. You know it's his appetite. And Jeff knows it's his appetite. So now we come over to the point of, if you're somewhat prone, because let's be honest, it's partially appetite, right? What's the other part? I caught that. I've been in the iron game a very, very, very long time. Any of you who've been lifting a long time, around a lot of hard gainers, you guys caught it too, didn't you? Well, when I was a skinny kid growing up, I always knew I had that 8-pack. There you go. That's what it is. It's not just appetite. Not just appetite. We're now dealing with a body image issue that says, I want to gain muscle and I want to gain strength, but I'm afraid of losing these diamond sharp abs. I need to be able to cut glass with my abdominal muscles, and if I can't, oh, that's going to be a problem. But I want to gain muscle, I want to gain strength. So how does that manifest? What do we do subconsciously? And this is where we come over to self-programming. It's not, I'm going to gain muscle, I'm going to gain strength. I'm going to do whatever it takes. It's, I want to gain muscle, I want to gain strength. But I want these diamond sharp abdominals. Okay, now is where you're going to sabotage yourself. Because deep down, he knows that on a subconscious level, he identifies as a skinny guy. He identifies as a skinny guy. What do skinny guys do? They undereat. Skinny guys lie about how much they eat. What do you mean they lie? They lie. And I've watched it repeatedly. I've been saying this for many, many, many years. All right? Just like the fat person who claims they eat nothing. And by nothing, they mean an extra 2,500 calories of tacos and cheeseburgers every day that they forgot to tell you about, right? That nothing. The skinny guy eats a ton of food. That's what he lies to you about. And he lies to himself about until they track it. And then magically to the skinny guy, 2,100 calories is an enormous amount of food. And it's like, well, no shit, that's why you're 130 pounds. You think you can work out and gain weight on 2,100 calories? You think you're going to gain a single drop of muscle on that? Do you think that's even biologically possible? I mean, the laws of thermodynamics are at play here. You can't create energy out of nothing. You can't burn 2,500 calories a day, right? 2,500 calories going out, and 2,100 calories going in and create something out of that. You can't create matter out of an energy deficit. Just doesn't work that way. The laws of physics don't allow for that to happen. So you can want to gain that muscle all that you want, but you're not giving your body the actual tools to physically create it. So therein lies your dilemma. The skinny guy struggles to eat more. Now, he did admit, a lot of you bigger guys are saying, what are you talking about? Eating more is the easiest thing in the world. Yeah, kind of. Till you're dealing with a bad relationship with food, and that's what we're dealing with. That's what we're dealing with. That's what it is. So you have someone like me. I'm a voracious overeater. I have an enormous appetite. My appetite would blow your minds, guys. The amount of food I eat. If I eat junk food, you'd be disgusted at the amount of calories I am physically capable of consuming without really feeling sick. There's a reason I can't eat junk food. I wouldn't be a 218 like I am now. I'd be 318 because I would eat 8,000 calories every day. And if I could have pizza and tacos every day, woo! So it's not an option. Not an option. See, appetite issues combined with our relationships with food. I personally have my own relationship problems with food. I'm very, very aware of that. And you've got to be in control of those things. You have to address those things. In Jesse's case, he has a bad relationship with food. An identity issue. He identifies being a skinny guy with deep abs. Combined with a relatively low appetite, he will subconsciously tell himself that he can't eat more food. Right? And it's a mind game. It's a mind game. Because his stomach is probably more than physically capable of easily holding 3,500 calories. He can physically fit it in there. And when you train, it actually does speed up gastric emptying over time as you get more athletic. So, fit it in there. It's just that as soon as he feels any fullness at all, his brain, because of his self-programming, tells him to shut it down. He's going to have to work on that. There's going to be a relationship with food that has to be resolved there. Just like when you're dealing with the morbidly obese person having to lose weight, something I'm intimately familiar with. You have your own set of issues. You also have the guy like him, the classic hard gainer. What's a hard gainer? It's not the light frame, guys. The hard gainer is someone who struggles to eat enough food to gain muscle. That's your hard gainer. That is what they are. You can create whatever other body type, somal type nonsense you want to describe them. It is an appetite and a psychological situation surrounding their appetite that causes a hard gainer. That is what Jesse is. Here's what I'm going to say with that. I don't know that Jeff is the best person to work with a true hard gainer. And the reason for that, Jeff has learned to market his own eating disorder as an insanely profitable business. Jeff himself, and he can say whatever he wants, it's the way I market. It works. He's making a fortune. He's probably making millions of dollars off of his own problems with food and that obsession with staying really, really, really lean year-round. It's actually not necessarily healthy, and we don't need to get into that. I'm going to tell you guys, you don't want to be at just body fat year-round. I wouldn't recommend it from a health perspective. Any more than I would recommend you walk around at 25% body fat year-round as a man. Neither one of those are ideal. So, I don't know that Jeff, because he actually himself successfully markets and makes a fortune off of his own version of an eating disorder, he's basically monetized an eating disorder. And that's how I would describe it. That's my interpretation. Says me. It's my opinion. Nothing more. My perspective on it. I'm not sure that that's the best person to help someone who is struggling to eat enough food to gain muscle. Right? Because I don't know that he personally knows the best route to deal with that. And let's come back to the point. I don't know that Jeff is really suited to be a strength coach in his psychology. Physical therapy is what he always says. The physical therapist in me always comes out, I'm not apologizing for it. You don't have to apologize for it. Just don't try to be a strength coach because they're somewhat mutually exclusive. It's very, very hard to balance a physical therapist with a strength coach because they're a different mindset. And I'm not saying they're not both important. I mean, the best athletes in the world need some of both of that happening, right? Those are both valid, useful tools. It is very hard and almost impossible to combine the two, and I see problems specifically with his approach that's not working for combining the two. And I mean, we come back over to Jesse. There's your situation. I don't know that that's the best tutelage for him to get Because let's be realistic. Has Jesse made progress? Yes. Has it been what I would describe as even good progress? No, it's way below average progress. Way below average. And it's a couple of factors at play. One, it comes back with, again, that fear of getting stronger, and I almost worry, is Jeff feeding into that with some of the physical therapy in? And then it's that issue of that self-identity, that certain body image view that he has, combined with that low appetite. Is it keeping him from being able to consume enough food to actually make the muscle and strength gains that he needs to make? And I think it's a combination. And I think that latter, I think that's a real big factor. That's a real big factor. And that's where we have to be honest with ourselves. But the thing is that he's actualizing that to some extent. That's the thing. He's actually kind of come out and said, yeah, I see what's happening. And he got it right. That is what's holding him back. His progress hasn't been that good. No, it really hasn't. It's not, I don't think it's particularly praiseworthy. It's obviously been there. There's some there. It's below what I would expect for anyone getting any sort of decent coaching. But he also, at this point, he's acknowledging this is what's going on. It's like, okay, so there we go. That's the first step. All right, there's the problem. He's identified the problem. He's admitted the problem. And so it's kind of hard to give someone a hard time when they have actually said, hey, I kind of see what the problem is. Well, there we go. You've identified the problem. Now you have to solve it, right? And isn't that part of being the best version of ourselves with everything that we're trying to do? Look, we say, here's a goal I want to reach. I'm falling short of that goal. And admit you're falling short. And say, okay, what can I do to get back on track? I'm not reaching that goal at the rate that's appropriate or that I should be. What can I do? What's wrong with my approach? What's wrong with my mindset? What can I do to get myself on the right track? And I think that's the direction Jesse needs to go with it, right? I think that's the direction he needs to go. And I think he's halfway there. He's starting to come around to that. And I like to see that. That's a good thing. So I'm actually not going to give him a hard time over it. I'm going to give props. You're admitting the problem. Solve it. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative. And I will talk to you guys next time.